it's Kaleid Cosplay, and we're back again with another video.
Today we're going to be talking about cosplay etiquette, as we have been cosplayers for a good time now, and there's a few things we see that we'd kind of like to address. First things first. I know it's hard to believe in this culture we live in, but you should ask permission before you take pictures of people.
Honestly, just asking permission before you do anything, like whether you're taking photos, whether you're, going up to hug people, etc. It leads to the whole cosplay is not consent point where, it doesn't necessarily mean just touching someone, which always ask permission before you touch someone.
Can I touch your shoulder?
Yeah, go for it.
Like that.
Mm-hmm. We see so many times at conventions people just running up and hugging somebody without their permission first. If you're really excited about a cosplayer, that's amazing. You can kind of go up to them quickly and just kind of be like, hey, I really love your cosplay. You look adorable. Do you mind if I hug you? Because someone like me, I love hugs, but I'd rather be asked first or have somebody tell me that they're going to hug me, but that way if I don't feel like being hugged or something like that, I can just say, hey, give me a second because my cosplay is really fragile or something like that.
For example, I was at Anime North this past year. I was cosplaying Yukine, and I happened to see a Yato who was really excited to see Yukine and just screamed at me, and then we just ended up talking, and I'm like, can I give you a hug? And it's like, yeah! So that's good, we got to hug. But if I had just hugged that person without asking, that might have been a little bit weird. The next point is be mindful of your surroundings. There's actually a she's kind of a YouTuber, she's a photographer, she has a YouTube channel, I'm gonna link her below. We went to a panel she had at FrostCon where she brought up something we hadn't really thought about before. If someone wants to take pictures of you, make sure you're getting out of the way of everyone else, that you're not blocking anyone. If you want to take a shot in the hall, then maybe turn so that you're not in the way, you're towards the wall. Another thing to think about, if you're doing something that has big wings or something, you gotta watch out for those. You gotta make sure you're not hitting anyone, because I've been hit multiple times by swords while walking through the dealer's room or conventions or anywhere in the convention.
Also, if you're wearing big props like that, maybe taking them into the dealer's room or a place that's going to be really crowded isn't the best place to go with that cosplay on. Maybe plan your day so that you are wearing your wings in the morning, but then you're switching into something in the afternoon that doesn't require them, so that you can go into these places a little bit easier and not be taking up so much room, because those places do get very crowded. And as much as we love cosplay and we want everybody to be able to wear what they're wearing, also be mindful to other cosplayers and other people who are there to have the same great time that you're having.
As someone walking around, also be mindful of other people's cosplays. If you see a Toru cosplayer walking around with her tail, please be careful not to step on it. She probably put a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
And another thing, just be considerate of the fact that people have probably put a lot of time into these props. For example, Jess and I at Con Bravo, Jess picked up a, Lily Saber sword?
It was Lily's sword, yeah, from Fate.
And this random guy walking by was just harassing her, trying to get her to let him hold it. But we spent good money on that sword.
Well, and he even told me, he's like, hey, can I borrow your sword for a second? Because I want to go, screw with my friends over there. And it's no, I spent a lot of money on this sword. You're not just taking it to go and, mess with your friends. Our first year at Anime North, some guy approached me. I was wearing, I was dressed as Baby Doll from Sucker Punch. So I had the katana and everything. And he asked if he could see the katana, because he had noticed when I had taken it out for a photo that it had, all the details on it and everything. If you notice, she's got all the drawings. So he wanted to see it. So I said, yeah, sure, take a look at it. And I was holding it. So he asked if he could see it and hold it. So I was like, yeah, okay, sure. He didn't tell me that he was going to proceed to start swinging it around everywhere. And I got really anxious about it because, one, it was a crowded area, so I was worried about him hitting somebody or something. And two, I didn't want it damaged. So our next point is to make sure you're giving people and cosplayers their space when needed. These conventions can get really hot, they can get very crowded, so people wearing big cosplays can get really overwhelmed sometimes, and they just need to go off to a corner and have a break.
I'm gonna throw on there the internet presence of cosplayers. They also need space. I know there's kind of an expectation for people to constantly be producing things on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, but some people are introverts. Some people need their time alone, and it doesn't seem like a big deal to not post something online, but it does take a lot of energy because you got to be there to respond and blah blah blah. Have a little respect online if someone's not on for a while. It's okay to worry about them or something, but generally people just have other lives outside of their cosplay. So this next point probably pertains more to female cosplayers than male cosplayers, and it's that you should be keeping an eye on your friends. There are a lot of, like, this sounds rude, but there's a lot of really creepy, lecherous, both guys and girls at conventions. And if you're wearing a skimpy cosplay or your friend is wearing a skimpy cosplay, you gotta keep an eye on them. So, for example, we were cosplaying Kim and Shigo once, and there was this guy who was asking to take pictures of us. But he was getting very low to the ground and asking us to turn around. So, yeah, that was kind of a moment where we're like, no, how about not? My first ever convention, I was 17, it was Anime North. I went with my boyfriend of the time. I was dressed as Shiro from Dead Man Wonderland. And this guy, like, specifically got my boyfriend away because he wanted to take a picture with me, and he's like, oh, you take the picture, so that he would have the phone and wouldn't be in the shot even though we were a pair cosplay. And usually guys hover hand, which isn't really a big deal, but this guy straight up put his hand, like, right on my hip, around my back and on my hip, and I was, like, too awkward to say anything. And my boyfriend was like, oh, well, I figured you would have said something if it was making you uncomfortable. Like, no, girls don't do that because we know it's dangerous to say as much.
It makes me, like, cringe so hard when that happens, because not only that, too, but, like, I've had those incidents with photography as well, where it's kind of like you don't really realize what's happening, and when you realize what's happening and you have time to process that you're very uncomfortable with it, it's almost like you feel too bad to say anything because so much has already gone by that you're just, like, you don't really know how to say anything at that point. Like, I personally freeze. Like, I freeze that. That's why I prefer it when people ask me ahead of time what they can do or what I'm comfortable with. That way I can tell them, oh, these are my boundaries.
Surprisingly, we kind of had the best time in this respect with Nekopara, because it was like almost anyone who wanted pictures with us, they would legitimately ask, they'd be like, can I, like, put a hand on your shoulder? Can I stand between the two of you? And it's like, yeah, sure, why not? As long as we know what's happening and we're comfortable with it, it's fine. Like, I don't find a lot of cosplayers say no if you ask them, but it's when you do it without checking first that it just gets weird. So it's nice to have a friend there who can kind of keep an eye. You can let your friend know what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, so they can call someone out if they're stepping over the line.
This goes into our next point of, if you're looking for something very specific from a video or a photo or anything you're taking of a cosplayer, make sure you're telling them exactly what you're looking for prior to doing it so that they're well aware and they can let you know if they're okay with it or not. There was a time at Anime North, that first Anime North that I went to, it was her second, my first, that I was wearing Baby Doll, as I was saying previously, and a guy approached me while she was somewhere. You were in, like...
I was at the ATM line.
You were going to the ATM line, and I was off by the entrance, sort of, but not quite. And a guy approached me, he's like, hey, like, can I get a photo of you? And I was like, yeah, sure, like, whatever. Being completely naive at that point as I was, because I hadn't had this happen to me yet. And he proceeded to take a photo, which I thought was normal, and then he's like, okay, so now can you turn around 360 degrees? And because I had never had something like this happen before, it wasn't something that I was thinking of immediately what the intentions might have been or whatever, like what he was doing at the time. So I thought he just wanted me to, like, turn around kind of quickly, so, like, that's what I did. But he's like, no, slower. And at that point, I kind of realized halfway through what was happening, and I no longer think it was a photo, I think it was a video. I never found anything from it, so I'm not super worried about it now, but it was really uncomfortable for me, and it kind of ruined my day after that, because I felt, like, really violated. Yeah. Like, I just felt violated.
So this one might be more just a personal thing because we are, like, cosplayers on the internet, but crediting people is super important.
Oh my god, yes.
This isn't just crediting the cosplayers, which I do believe is important. Like, there's so many pictures of me that were taken that don't even end up on the internet, and I'm kind of sad about it.
Yeah.
But credit your photographers.
Oh my god, yes.
If someone takes a picture of you, like, and they give you your card, if you're posting that on social media, be sure you're crediting them. They're working, like, it's a different type of work, but they're doing work for you, pretty much. They're giving you a nice photograph. For free, basically.
Not even that, but paid shoots. When you pay for a shoot, even if you've paid for it, it doesn't 100% necessarily make it yours. The photographer still owns part of it. So if they have a watermark or something they put in the corner, don't be cropping it out, because it's not fair for a photographer to go through all that editing process just for you to go and crop out their watermark. They have their watermark there for a reason. It's copyright, it's etc. So, and they want to be credited. So, especially for photographers who are just starting out and are trying to make a bigger name for themselves, it's incredibly important for them, for their watermark to be there.
And I'm also just going to throw on here, I think feedback is very important. Like, when you're posting things on social media, when you're looking through things, even just, like, liking, commenting, like, on Instagram, whatever, because a lot of the time it can feel like you're just throwing things into the internet void. And I'm sure anyone else who's a content producer feels the same way, so that's why I make, like, a constant effort when I'm, like, on YouTube, on Instagram, to like and comment and everything like that.
Also, when you're going and visiting somebody's page and kind of liking their photos and stuff like that, don't self-promo in the comments. Yeah. Like, please don't. There's a time and space for self-promo, and it's not in somebody's comments. Not even a big, like, cosplayer like Elodia or Jessica Negri or Yaya Han or, like, Lightning, any of those. It's not a space for you to be self-promoting. It's their work that they're posting so that they can share it with the community.
So that's pretty much what we've got for the con etiquette right now. These are just a few things to consider as the con season starts up and you start seeing more convention photos, convention vlogs. You're going to conventions, meeting with photographers. Just some things to keep in mind.
We would also like to leave just a disclaimer that these stories are coming from a women's standpoint, so it's stuff that's happened to us. That's not to say that men don't have the same harassment, because we do know male cosplayers who have been touched inappropriately, etc., etc. And you should be mindful that this doesn't just happen to women, it happens to men too. People are people. Treat them as you would want to be treated.
Yeah, like for example, one of our male friends that we went to a convention with once got like picked up and hugged and swung around by some guy without having given consent first. So it happens to guys too.
Yeah.
This is also not saying that every guy out there is some pervy, lecherous photographer who's going to take photos up your skirt. It's just, in general, it's usually like there's more female cosplayers, blah, blah, blah. But there are good guys. We're not saying that everyone who tries to take your picture is going to try to like get up your skirt or something.
So that's it for this video today. If you liked it, please feel free to thumbs up and subscribe down below. We'd love to know if you guys like these sorts of videos and if you'd like us to keep continuing them.
And send this video to your photographers. I don't know, tell them you appreciate them and they are lovely people, because we've only had great experiences with photographers. Bye everyone!
Bye!